Hey now, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to our number 3 of the Line Talk 99.5 and Talk995.com. John Bird, are you getting ready to play the guitar?
Oh no, no, oh no, no.
It's only hour 3.
Yeah,
Do you
I,
think
I,
it's
I,
hour 4?
I was thinking like the old days when there were only 3 hours. I'm just getting the guitar tuned up. I'm not playing it. No, oh no.
I hope not, because we're waiting on Matt Murphy to call. And he kept cutting the phones off. I'm like, why is he cutting the phones off? And then I looked over and he's got his guitar in his lap and he's tuning it up. I mean, listen, everybody's just as excited as you are for John Bird plays the guitar, but we do have to keep on schedule here, you know?
Crap.
Did you legitimately think it was 1 o'clock already?
I told you I was still in the old days with the 3 hours.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
open these phone lines back up. Is that okay?
Yes, please do. I'm sorry,
Just,
everybody.
I just in case Murphy calls. I don't want to miss his phone call. Getting wild, man. Getting wild and crazy. Ernest Financial, by the way, bringing you this part of the show. Retirewithernest.com. Retirewithernest.com. My buddy David Ernest, who does just such a freaking awesome job, man. Couldn't be more proud of what he accomplishes and what he does for you guys. I mean, I know a lot of you guys in the audience have reached out to him. You know, if it's appealing to you, I think it's kind of important. It costs you nothing to go through this process. They get their fees elsewhere. They don't get them from their clients. But what happens is you talk to them on the phone and you say, David, here's what I got. This is what I got in my retirement. We usually say if you're 55 or older and you got over 50K in your retirement, here's what I got. Here's what when I want to retire, and here's what I want to do with my spouse or by myself when I retire. This is what I envision my life looking like. What can you do for me to make that a reality? And they immediately get to work and start making that a reality. They set you up in a position where it is an absolute breeze. Retirement is a breeze. It's not stressful. It's not involving the rest of your life and penny pitching and cutting coupons. You end up being in a much better position than you ever could have imagined. And all along the way, your retirement gets protected. It gets put in the safest places and it grows so much more than you could have ever imagined. So I want you to make this phone call, even if you got questions about it. You don't have to be like, hey, I want to do this. You just say, hey, David, Andrew talks about you every day. Tell me what it is that you can do for me and have that convo. 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-7233. Online, retirewithernest.com. And don't feel like, oh, well, I'm not in the Birmingham area or what. I don't care what part of the country you're in. Call David Ernest. Let him know I sent you and get yourself squared away. Bill's on the line in Birmingham. Bill, what's up?
Hey, Andrew. Thought I'd bring up a couple of things. One is kind of a follow on to your Cuba comments, and then one about tariffs, if I might. Uh, First of all, on Cuba, I certainly am all for getting a real leader in there, an elected leader, getting the communists out and all that. But I think we ought to be aware of a little history that at one time I think Cuba was a U.S. territory after we won the Spanish-American War. We kind of messed that up because we let some bad dictators come in there, and then the communists wanted to get those dictators out. So hopefully we'll do better. You know.
No, I agree. I agree. There's many things that Trump is doing and has been doing, especially in the second term, that has been attempted before by previous presidents and previous administrations that turned out to be unsuccessful. And I think he realizes that and
Yeah.
is trying to do it the right way and not repeat the screw ups of history. I think that's probably one of his best traits, honestly, is being able to think this stuff through. And if you're going to do something, do it the right way. That with Cuba, it's yet to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen or whatever. But if you ask me, if you want a prediction out of me as to what's going to happen, if he makes a move, it's going to be something that is going to not necessarily reclaim Cuba as a U.S. territory, but create a situation which encompasses stability and a very beneficial relationship between the U.S. and Cuba that benefits both countries.
Well, one other thing, well, yeah, I agree with that, and certainly we can make some good changes. I hope. But one other thing on an ad that I got from President Trump or from his people, the headline is "Abolish the income tax." President Trump wants to abolish the income tax. This would be a nuclear strike on the swamp. And here's a quote, supposedly from the president: "Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens." You know, I assume he's talking about tariffs. And I just want to say, you know, I think this is very, very misleading. We're not able to tax other nations, just like they can't tax us. Now, when we put tariffs on imports from a nation, I mean, essentially, we're putting a tax on ourselves.
Well, yeah, well, you know, I've had this conversation before, and it's fluid. I mean, it's there's no law or rule that demands of a company, a foreign company, that they have to bake their tariffs that they pay into the price of their product. There's no company in the U.S. that has to push a tariff onto a consumer. So that's all subjective as to whether a company does that or not. In a lot of cases, they will. In a lot of cases, they won't. But even if prices
What
go up a little bit, as they have been going down, but even if they go up a little bit and we rely strictly on tariffs for income and we abolish the income taxes, I think that's a pretty good trade off with the amount of money
yeah.
you're going to be saving by not paying income taxes to the federal government.
But here's the deal, Andrew. Even if it's not passed on to the consumer, it's paid by an American importer. There's no free lunch here. Even if zero is passed on to the consumer, and that's very unlikely, it's still money that's paid by Americans of some nature. It's not paid by China. It's not paid by any other country, and so it's in my view, it's just misleading. It's a gimmick. It's just a gimmick.
So let's just say, and you know, again, I think that's kind of too broad of a statement to say that it's not paid by foreign countries because I think it is in a sense. But would you rather a company, say, let's say FedEx, for example? So FedEx has had to pay some tariffs because they've got a lawsuit in the the International Court of whatever consumer against Trump's tariffs, trying to get money back that they have in fact paid for tariffs. Would you rather FedEx be paying that, or would you rather just continue to get money taken out of your check to go to the federal government? I'd rather FedEx pay for it than it for income taxes to be coming out of my check.
Hey, if Mr. Trump would say it that way, that we're going to tax big corporations, I could certainly see that makes me feel a little better. Okay, but I don't hear him saying that. Okay, because I think he would start to sound more like a Democrat if you talk
Well,
about taxing big corporations.
he would, but I mean, saying
But
that I'm taxing big corporations or taxing U.S. corporations is not entirely true when it comes to tariffs. But I listen, I get what you're saying, and when we always kind of respectfully disagree on these issues. But at the end of the day, I think what most Americans are concerned with the issue with the email you got or whatever it was, is that if we can stop paying income taxes as average Americans, I think that that's a win for everybody, no matter who's picking up the tab. That's going to boost the overall economy, and consumers, buying products and everything else, which will then, you got extra money in your pocket. That's extra money for Americans to spend. And when Americans spend extra money, who does that benefit? That benefits the
Well, let
corporations because they're then selling more products, right?
let me ask you just one more real quick, and I'll accept your side on that. I accept to disagree, but when the tariffs were put in place, of course, there was a lot of concern. Now, those tariffs have come way, way down. At one time, it was 145% on China. Now it's back to, I think, 15%, something like that. Big change. But the other thing is, are we seeing the jobs come back over here? I don't think we are yet. And I think, you know, we've held out for a long time now, and those manufacturing jobs aren't here.
But you've seen the corporations announce the billions and billions of dollars in investments and starting to build these jobs or build these factories that will ultimately result in jobs, right? I mean, we can't just snap
Yeah,
our fingers and get create jobs overnight. It's a process, and it'll come. It'll all listen. It's all going to play out. We'll see it. I know it's a hurry up and wait game, but it's one of those things that we'll all me and Bill will be all on the same page a year or two from now. How does that sound?
okay, brother. All
All
right,
right,
thanks,
Bill.
Eddie.
Thanks, buddy. I listen. I like
That's the way to do it, man.
I like Bill. He calls in all the time, and he disagrees. I feel like he disagrees with everything I say, but he does it in a respectful manner, so I don't have to hang up on him like I do people like Brett. So, give me an idea of what we're like on the time. Can we go to the bottom of the hour? Is that possible or no? Okay, okay. Let's not. I'm trying to unlock the cheat code here, the radio cheat code, and do things the wrong way. All right, quick break. Coming back on the other side, more than the line after this. Bro, y'all ain't even gonna believe this.
I love
Y'all ain't
it.
even gonna believe this. You ready for this? So, I just got word, and I mentioned this at the top of the show. And honestly, I didn't even think it was gonna happen. I really didn't, because the demand's busy. But I just got word that we are gonna have the Nick Nice in studio next segment.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Birmingham radio. Love it.
So as many, because listen, I've told that story many times of 14-year-old Andrew Mclain going to the radio station. My first time ever inside of a radio station. Nick Nice was the DJ. Then
And he was
me.
nice.
And he was nice. He was so hospitable and everything else. And man, here we are. How many years later? 27 years later. 27 years later. And
another dream comes true for Andrew.
Dude, this is wild. My mind is blown, bro. I'm like,
Now look, do me a favor. Don't fanboy.
I don't. Well,
You're equals now.
It was good for me to go see him last night because I was able, and I did have to pep talk myself before I went in to meet him. I guess meet him, just to go see him last night. And I'm like, man, don't act weird, bro. Don't be a weirdo. And don't ask for an autograph. That would be really weird. Well, I may just get one anyway. I may get him to sign the wall in here in the studio.
I'm
For
sure
old time's
Valerie would love that.
Well, maybe I can get him to go sign Valerie's office door with with all the stickers and stuff on it from way back in the day. This is crazy. Because you think about the trajectory of my life, like what that one Friday night did, right? And not only that, like what got all this started was me being a Friday night DJ, a Friday night guest DJ, and now Nick Nice is about to be my Friday guest DJ on Fun King Friday. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild, everybody? I hope everybody's excited about this.
I can't wait to see him, man.
And all of Nick Nice's old fans from back in the day, I want you to call us, and I'm gonna let you talk to Nick Nice. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, because he covered top 40 and alternative.
And he was quite the rapper back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He used to freestyle on his show. Wonder if I could get a freestyle out of him today.
Don't put pressure on him now.
It's to be like, hey man, drop me a freestyle right now. Give me a freestyle about John Bird and all of his trials and tribulations he's gone throughout his life.
That'd be a 10-minute rap.
Give me the depression rap. This is the depression rap. Everybody sing along. All right, so here we go. Coming up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Nick Nice, live in studio. So you better not go anywhere. I'm serious. This could blow up all of Birmingham radio right here. Here we go. I don't know what this is John Bird's playing, but I love it. And it's getting me in the right mood. It's taking me back to the late 90s. 14-year-old Andrew Mclain. Nick Nice in studio right now.
Yeah. Hey now.
This is so crazy to me, man. You know, that what you kept saying to me, you kept saying life in circles.
Life is circles.
And this is the most life in circles moment that I think I've ever experienced. Ever.
Well, I was telling you on the elevator, it was tomorrow, February the 28th, which was my very first night on air at the Q.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it, man. I
in the
remember
year
it.
2000. So tomorrow would be 26 years since I first cracked the mic here in Birmingham, Alabama. And I played the Britney Spears song, You Drive Me Crazy, over and over and over for 5 hours straight. Now, the idea was I was a new guy and I didn't know what I was doing. But obviously, my boy Billy Surf, who inspired me to be on the radio.
Yeah.
And now, through the Life of Circles process and your influence, Andrew, now I'm going back into the broadcasting game because of what you did, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
You were on the show like, where's Nick Nice? Where's Nick Nice? So my Alabama boy calls me. I snowbird in Panama City Beach, so I keep my RV down there, and I'm living on the ocean front. It's freaking amazing. So I walk out to the beach like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And my boy calls me, and he's like, hey, man, Andrew Mclain's like put out an APB trying to find Nick Nice. And so I, pulled up, 99.5, and I listened to that final segment of the show, then went back and listened to it. Anyways, I believe in following the coincidences in life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I consider them God winks, and I've talked to you about this off the air. So through that experience, and the dude that I grew up listening to on the radio, Billy Surf, who was in Richmond, Q94, he's the same guy that hired me at 103.7 The Q.
Mm-hmm.
So now he runs Destin FM,
Right.
Destin's only radio station. So through your influence, and I sent him your stuff as kind of like a proud older brother, like.
Right.
Because you sent me the message, you were like, you inspired me to be on the radio. So I wanted to send that to the dude that inspired me to be on the radio.
Right.
And, he checked out the podcast. And, he used to work with John Bird as well. So we all work
Billy's
together.
my boy.
So all these coincidences are coming back. And now I'm going to be broadcasting again, basically because of what you started,
That's
Andrew.
wild. That's wild.
And then I sent it to the guy that inspired me to be on the radio. And he's like, hey, man, I'd love you to maybe do the afternoon or night show. And I was like, so he got me all pumped up. I was like, yeah, I can probably do afternoons. But of course, I run my lawn care company in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So he was wanting me to start, and he was writing sweepers and stuff, man. And it put a lot of pressure on me. And I was like, man, I've got to, get back to Virginia. I kick off my lawn care, right towards the end of March or whatever.
Right.
And then we were going to do my start date, March 23rd. And I was just like, let's pump the brakes. So I'm going to start just doing Sundays.
Yeah.
We're going to do a Sunday fun day, kind of like all day, vibe. And, it's perfect for listening to at the beach, obviously, but you can just download the Destin FM app to your phone and you can get nice worldwide.
That's right, man. This is the first major announcement that Nick Nice is back on the radio. That's huge, man.
And it's largely due to you, Andrew Mclain.
That's the craziest part. That's almost hard to believe because as I was stating, and by the way, try that one. I've give you the janky headphones. How dare me? I need to be more hospitable. If I knew that this was actually going to, because when I told you last night, I was like, you should stop by the station. I was like, he's too busy. He's not going to be able to do it. And when you text me, you said, I'm in the parking lot. I'm like, no way. I told Bird, I'm like, dude, he's in the parking lot. This is wild.
Well, I tuned in this morning when you kicked off, and you were like, maybe he'll come, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll text me and say I'm in the parking lot. So I was like, I think that's the route I'm going to go.
Yeah, you did. You
I got to the parking lot. I said, hey, man. I said, hey, now. I'm in the parking lot.
It's just so crazy. So let's go back. All right. So I don't know. What year did you say you started at the Q?
February the 28th, 2000.
2000.
So I moved here on a Sunday. It was the 20th. And then I took a week of training. And then my first night on the air was February 28th, 2000.
So it had to be, and I guess it was probably towards the end of 2000 when I came up, when you invited me up there.
Yep.
Dude, I had no idea. That was your first gig?
Well, that was my first full-time gig. Yeah, I moved here when I was 21. I
And
got
you
started
killed
in
it.
radio when I was 18 in Virginia Beach, and then I worked my way to my radio station in Richmond that I grew up to like when I was maybe 19. But Billy Surf used to be. He was the cool nighttime radio
Mhm.
DJ when I grew up, and I remember being in middle school. My older sister, they had won something with their high school. And Q94 and Billy Surf came out, and she came home with like a autographed headshot of Billy Surf.
Yeah.
So similar to the story that you told when you came up to be a Friday night DJ, and I've got these two chicks behind me or whatever. My sister came home and she had a headshot of this cool radio guy.
Yeah.
So when she brought that home, that's when the seed was planted within me. Like, well, maybe I want to be a cool radio guy someday. So now it's like all three of us are still kind of semi-connected. I just text Billy when I was in the parking lot. I was like, hey, man, I'm about to go on, 99.5 with Andrew. So it's kind of like you got the big brother, the middle brother, and now the baby brother is doing his thing.
And
man.
all the while,
And
John
the
Bird,
crazy old uncle.
And John Bird has been a part of it.
He's
John
been in the
Bird's been a part
background
of it.
creeping
Guys,
the whole
we got
process.
to find a place, and all four of us get together for a weekend, man.
Right. And what's funny is I have this thing where I sit out at the lake all the time. I've got my friends Whitebird and Graybird.
Uh-huh.
And, it's just my peace, my serenity. I wake up in the morning, I drink my 2 cups of coffee, and I sit out at the lake, and I talk to my bird friends. So I had made a funny post, and I sent you the screenshot of this on January the 4th. And, I'm a Family Guy fan, and Peter Griffin, they've got the Bird is the Word song.
Mhm.
So I made this funny post, but you had to go to the comments to kind of get the punchline about, I put one of the seagulls from Panama City out there, and I was like, very passionate about this, my bird friends and all this stuff. But you had to get to the comments. I made it sound like the serious, very serious thing, and then you've got Peter Griffin doing the 5-minute long the bird is the word dance. And then I start listening to your show, maybe a week or two later is when you reached out and all that stuff. And then come to find out, just a couple weeks after that, we've got John Bird back on the show full
That's
time.
right.
And you know what? I've got some liners and sweepers I'm going to send to you.
Nice.
I've still got them.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice at night.
So it's like everything truly is coming full circle. When people ask me how, if you could sum up life in 3 words, that's my response. Life is circles.
Mhm.
So, you got the seasons, you've got fall, you've got winter, you've got spring, you've got summer, and you've got stuff like this, where like today, like February the 28th, 2000 was my first night on air in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And this is as close as we can get to February 28th,
Yeah.
2000. Today is February 27th, 2026. So it's just crazy, man, how life truly is circles, man. And I'm just so proud of you. And
I
I'm
appreciate
honored to
that.
be a part of, this phase, man.
Yeah, man. It's wild because I think back and being it like we said, it had to be the year 2000. I was a regular caller to your show.
Right.
You were the one that dubbed me Dr. Drew.
Right.
I had a couple of other friends that would call in as characters, and you would always put them on. And we would sit at home. I remember sitting in my bedroom with a stereo and cassette tapes. And sometimes we wouldn't have enough blank cassette tapes, so we'd have to take the little piece of paper and stick it in, and we'd record over actual albums,
Right.
the
Yep.
segments. And, we would have to go back and erase them and start over because you wouldn't always play our stuff. We would just have to wait and see after the song if you were going to play our call. And we had stacks and stacks of these tapes. And then one day, I think I was actually beefing with another caller, and I can't remember the guy's name, but you invited me as the Friday night DJ. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, we're really going. My dad and his friend take me up there and drop me off. And then all of a sudden, I guess you had earlier in the week also invited that guy I was beefing with. So
Oh,
after
wow.
like an hour into it, you bring in this guy that I was beefing with. And of course, I was already locked up because I was so nervous to be there. And then he got in there and he was locked up. So we just both kind of just sat there awkwardly until we ended up leaving at like 7:30 or whatever, an hour and a half into the show. But it was just, I remember specific details about it. I remember first getting there, and then friends from school would be calling in. They'd be like, hey, I just want to shout out Andrew. I know him, blah, blah, blah. And it was crazy. And I was on such a high after that for weeks and weeks, man. I was going back to school, and I was hot-ish. I was like, man, I was on the radio, dude. I was with Nick Nice. Kids couldn't believe it. And ever since then, it was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
Like, cause that dude that I met yesterday was an absolute rock star. I'm gonna be that guy one day. And sure enough, man, here we are hanging out together in studio. 27 years later?
Yeah,
That's
February
nuts.
28th, 2000. So tomorrow will be 26 years since I first cracked the mic.
And seeing some of those pictures on your website, by the way, really took me back.
Dude,
You-
I was like the original, like, because I would go out with my own digital camera at the time because I don't think we really had, smartphone capabilities. When I would go to my club gigs, which I had 3 a week, I had to be at a different spot every Thursday, one on Friday, one on Saturday.
That's exhausting. Well, at least
Yeah.
at 40 years old, that sounds exhausting.
Right, right. So, well, back then I was in my 20s, so I mean,
You were killing it
I was
back
cool
then.
with it. But yeah, man, I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of old school photos from like 2000 to 2007 of like just the Birmingham party crowd.
Yeah.
Saved at home. So maybe one day I'll have to get around to uploading those things.
Maybe we could just put them into like Chat GPT and see if it can pick up any images of Bird in there because supposedly he looked like Russell Crowe back
I'm gonna have to look for that. Bird, did you go to like club gigs and stuff on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights?
Man, I took advantage of everything. I was
Right.
creative services director, and whatever was going on, I was there, man. Free food, free drinks. Are you kidding me?
It was the days, Bird. It was the days, man.
Yeah, it was.
then. And that was the thing, man. For those of us that were at home or in the car listening, we listened to you guys. We couldn't physically see you, but we would listen to all the stuff that y'all were doing, and you're introducing bands on stage, and you're always at the club. And we viewed those people, you guys, as big of rock stars as the bands and the artists that you were playing. I mean, it was that big of a deal to us back then.
Yeah,
Like, it was
I mean,
huge.
Nowadays everybody's a content creator, so it takes. But to your point, yes, back in the days of radio, like if I wanted to get my message out, I had to be hired at a radio station,
Mhm.
and I had a 75-mile radius with
Right.
which to communicate with people. Now you pick up your smartphone, and everybody's a broadcaster. So those days were really special with respect to the level of, I guess, appreciation we had for
Right.
the radio guys. Man.
What about the people you worked with? Because we've had these conversations as well. Your coworkers, you were at the Q from 2000 to what'd you say? 2008,
2007.
2007. The people you worked with, the other DJs, if
Right.
you will, who did that consist of?
So when I got there, the big time star in the market was Luca World. So she was on.
We were just talking about it
She
yesterday.
was on every afternoon before me. And I think back, man, and I was just a grimy kid. I was like 21, and I barely had a washing machine and a dryer, and even then, I barely used it. And I remember vividly, like I would come in the studio, and Luca would start like spraying like air freshener. Like, here comes Pigpen, man. So yeah, Luca was cool, man. I don't know where she's at now.
Well,
She's in Birmingham. I did a little deep dive.
I got a text from John Bird last night, and he's like, "I've got all the details about her."
Okay.
And sent them to me. So we'll share that with you. Maybe y'all can reconnect. Life in circles,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Circles, guys. Life is circles.
So who out? So Luca was afternoons,
And then my boy Billy Surf that we talked about, he was the program director, so he hired me to come down there, and I think he did middays back then, and then in the morning, I think we had Don and the Blonde to start off. Then it switched over to Ace and TJ.
Ace and TJ.
Yeah.
I remember that now. That's right. God, man, there's been a lot of people in Birmingham come and go that just, again, as a listener, some days I almost still feel like just an average radio listener. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around the
You're
fact that I'm
big
one of those
time now,
guys.
Mclain. You're big time now, man.
I'm rubbing elbows with all the big time people. All right, let me take this break real quick. We'll come back on the other side. Nick Nice, the legend Nick Nice in studio, man. It's such a big deal for me. We'll be back right after this. Y'all hang tight. We have Cover Song Friday every Friday.
Cover Song Friday?
Yeah, only cover songs for bumpers.
Got you.
And John Bird's always on top of it, pumping out the jams.
Yep. This is Shaman's Harvest.
Shaman's Harvest. I'm gonna close this window because I think we're blacking you out. One time Damien came in here and the lighting was so bad that you couldn't even see him. He's like, dude, I look like a locked character. You couldn't see anything but his smile. It was so dark. But yeah, man, we were just kind of BSing during the break about just everything. And I just keep going back to it. Life in circles, When you first said that, I thought I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, well, that's probably just his catchphrase or something. But it's so real, man.
Yeah, man.
Just everything, and it starts to make you think about stuff in your life, even outside of me and you, of other things that have happened where you're like, God, man, that just seriously came around full circle. Connecting with Bird, or meeting your wife, or reuniting with friends. It's crazy how all of that plays out. It just kind of lands in your lap.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think those patterns are there for everybody. It's just, do you notice them when they pop up?
Yeah.
So
that's the biggest thing. You got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't, and they miss those opportunities.
Yep.
I think a lot of people are just kind of going through their day-to-day, scrolling on TikTok, just doing the stuff that they do day in and day out, and they're not happy about it, They're just, going to work unhappy, coming home unhappy, and it's like, look around, man.
Yeah, it's called synchronicity. I'm a big believer in this. So it's basically noticing the meaningful coincidences that pop up in your life. So when a meaningful coincidence pops up, aka a synchronicity, I used to try to rush meaning onto it. Well, this crazy coincidence happened, so it probably means this. But now I've learned to just notice the coincidence and then just kind of give it time to reveal itself. Just meditate on the fact that there was a coincidence that popped up that seemed a little like, wow, like, because in mathematics, when two angles coincide, they're said to fit together perfectly. So I'm big on the coincidences, and I always notice them when they pop up. Like I said, I call them God winks. I feel like that's God's way of winking at you and being like, hey, buddy, trying to get your attention. Take a look at this, meditate on the info, and, kind of like just following the coincidences with respect to what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, here I am. Like you mentioned earlier, your radio career essentially started by, me doing my Friday night, DJ thing. And, you came up and you caught the radio bug. And now here we are, literally almost to the day, 26 years to the day. We're merely hours away from February the 28th, which was my first night on the air in Birmingham, which basically has brought us full circle to this moment.
What a ballsy thing to do, by the way, is to invite a listener up to the studio every Friday. I would never do that. That seems like insanity to me. That seems like suicide.
Well, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, and kind of like when we were younger, the radio guys were like our local heroes.
Right.
So I remember what that felt like. So that's why when I got to Birmingham, I was like, for anybody who, wants to come up and see like the radio station or whatever, like I knew it would have been a huge deal for me.
Yeah.
So, I was, kind of full of myself back in the day. But when I was out at remotes and when I was out meeting people, I tried to give them my all so that I created a memorable experience for them. And so that was my whole thinking with the Friday night DJ thing. And, I'm glad you took advantage of it, because
it changed the life. It literally changed the trajectory. And it makes me wonder, like, who else's life was changed by being Nick Nice's guest DJ on Friday night? Who else out there did it? And like the whole trajectory of your life changed. What's the craziest thing that happened to you in radio? Look, I tell you what. What's the craziest thing that happened between 2000 and 2007 at the Q? And by crazy, I mean just anything that's memorable. That was kind of like, oh my God.
I think for me, one of the big moments, and Beyonce wasn't, Beyonce at the time, but they were Destiny's Child, So when I guess it might have been when I first moved there, I had to be 21, 22 years old. So Destiny's Child was coming to City Stages, and they picked me, this little twerpy radio kid to like introduce them and bring them on stage.
Yeah.
So we've got photos. I got photos with Beyonce, and she was like, "I swear I have met you before," and I was just like, in my mind thinking, "No way, baby, in your dreams, say my name, baby." But she was cool enough. This was back in the days when we didn't really. Well, I had like a flip phone or whatever, so I had an old school answering machine at my apartment.
Yeah.
And I was like, Beyonce, can y'all just like leave a voice message on my answering machine? And they did, man, and they were really cool. And I still got those photos now. My other thing was interviewing J-Lo. And I used to get, in such a rush to get out of the studio at the end of the night that I often neglected to take time to save my old interviews. So that's one thing that I regret. I interviewed J-Lo, and she was late calling my show. And my roommate at the time, I had one of my Rottweilers. He had got loose anyways, and he was holding my roommate hostage. So he's like, yo, man, Nice, that was my dog's name. Nice is like running around the house. He won't let me out. I got to go. And I'm like, I'm waiting on J-Lo to call, man. I can't leave the house now. Just figure it out. So J-Lo calls, and I explained to her the situation that my roommate is now being held hostage by my Rottweiler because she called me late. So that was pretty cool. I got to lecture J-Lo about the importance of punctuality.
That's amazing. By the way, you're listening to Talk 99.5 WZRR, Birmingham, Alabama. You ever remember having to do those station IDs like that?
I think
Once
all of
an hour?
ours were recorded.
Oh, okay.
So
well, ours are
at the
too.
top of the hour. They
But
would
because
just play.
I don't play by the rules on the breaks, and I
got you.
occasionally get in trouble for that. So
Yeah, we stretched it out for you, brother.
yeah, like we just threw the brakes out the door because Nick Nice is in the house.
That sounds like an old school Nick Nice way of doing radio,
Yeah,
baby.
buddy.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Man, it's just it's surreal. I can't. But again, thank you enough. I hope I've got. So what are the? I told you I had the two buddies that would call, and I can't remember one of the guys called himself Billy Bob, and he acted like this big redneck. Remember, we're all like 14 years old, and the other guy said his name was Alicia, and he would call and he'd be like, "Hey, baby," he was
Right.
obviously like trans cross-dresser or whatever, and you would always play along with it. You're like, "Hey, Alicia, what are you wearing?" And it was just this funny gimmick. One of those guys is actually actively looking for those cassette tapes. He believes he has them somewhere, the
Nice.
ones that we recorded. And bro, if we get our hands on those tapes, Birmingham radio is just going to explode.
That'd be
I'll
cool, man.
probably rent out some sort of convention center and do a big presentation for a live crowd. It's that big of a deal for me.
That'd be nostalgic, man.
It would, wouldn't it? It would. All right, so I don't know how much time you've got. Are you in a rush?
Nah, man, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. So what we do on Fridays is we have the audience throughout the week pick a song for John Bird to play on Friday.
Nice.
Live music.
Yeah.
And so they picked out Leonard Skinner this week. So coming up after this, we're going to have Leonard Skinner, the Ballad of Curtis Lowe, live from John Bird. So y'all stick around for that. We'll be back after this. Hang tight.